Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here, and oh boy, Warcraft Rumble is about to start rumbling, because so much new content was announced today. Warcraft Rumble is going to get a bunch of improvements, bunch of new content, starting today, then coming in 2 weeks, coming in 3 weeks, coming in 2 months. We have a lot of dates, we have a lot of content coming, and in this video, I'm going to cover it all. Let's take a look. So these are the announcements that Blizzard made today. We have Molten Core Raid coming on June 5th. Yes, Molten Core, that was first revealed at BlizzCon, that was at the start of November 2023. Well, it's ready. And it's coming. And you can play it on June 5th. Stormwind Siege is coming before that on May 29th. Like, you might ask, what is Stormwind Siege? And the answer is, hey, it's also kind of like a raid, and we didn't have any advanced information about it, but it's coming too, and it's coming on May 29th. Then we have Moonglade coming, and we have the Cenarion family coming with new leaders and new minis. That's going to happen on July 10th at the start of Season 7. We have balance changes about to go live very soon. We have some dungeon quality of life improvements. Dungeon level is going to be changed. It's going to be much easier to do dungeons. And we have guild size increase from 15 to 20 people. So, because with Molten Core and Stormwind Siege, you're going to do co-op with your guild members, so more room in the guild for everyone. And let's start taking a look at these in the order of their appearance. So first of all, we have the balance patch that is coming as soon as this week, maybe already going live today. Guild size is going to be increased to 20, and I have tried to ask Blizzard, how is this going to affect Darkmoon Fair? Is it like going to be easier to get rewards there, or what's going to happen? And I didn't get a direct answer, which means that once Darkmoon Fair is up, we'll have to check out what's going to happen with Darkmoon Fair. Then the dungeon quality of life improvement, this is huge. Dungeon level cap has been lowered to 23. Yeah, so instead of 30, it's 23, and this level 23 is now like level 30 used to be. You can farm this every week with each of your leaders, well, one clear with each leader, and a full clear of level 23 awards you with 1200 arc energy and 100 coins. So that's extra 300 coins basically for people who can do a level 23 dungeon. And at this point there are a lot of people who can do a level 23 dungeon, even if there are not a lot of people who can do a level 30. Then also some balance changes. Sylvanas' leader ability now is global like Cairns, so when you have a Sylvanas army, it's constantly in effect. All Horde and Undead minis in Sylvanas army have plus 30% movement speed. But there are a lot more balance changes coming, because we have Deep Breath with double Dragon talent. Its casting cost is going to be increased from 4 gold to 5 gold. Molten Giant is going to get a buff. Molten Giant health is increased from 2900 to 3500. Yeah, like a casual plus 20% health, okay. And that makes Molten Giants the mini with the highest health pool currently in the game, surpassing Abomination, which has 3400 health. Quillbore health, on the other hand, is going to be reduced from 780 to 700. That shouldn't affect Quillbore too much. I mean, it's still going to be excellent for distraction. And then a big balance change. Whelp Eggs Flame Burst damage is going to be reduced from 110 per explosion to 50 per explosion. So 3 eggs exploding, that's 150 damage instead of 330. 330 killed all of the smaller minis, killed trolls, killed pyromancers, killed all sorts of stuff. 150 damage does not kill a Darkspear troll. 150 damage does not kill a pyromancer. So yeah, that's going to be a huge change. It's still some damage, it kills like Murlocs, but yeah, Whelpeg's usability in PvE, usability in PvP, definitely going to be some questions also about the power of Rookery. So whether Rookery is going to be better from here, I guess Flameburst is still going to be useful, but that's a lot less damage. And the Molten Giant health buff, that's really something. Molten Giant health, of course, that's going to be bad for you if you're facing Molten Giants, like in PvE, but in most maps where there's Molten Giants, you tend to steal them with a Banshee anyway, so that probably doesn't hurt you too much. Whereas using Molten Giant might now become much more attractive. It's one of its big problems is that it's single target damage, pretty slow damage dealer, so like compared to Fire Elemental, compared to Abomination with the Poison talent, those deal AoE damage around them, they're really sturdy and tanky, and then stuff just starts dying around them because they're dealing AoE damage, and Molten Giant can't do that. But I do look forward to Molten Giant, and I have used Molten Giant already sometimes, like for example in Heroic Maiev, and this is going to make Molten Giant so good at Heroic Maiev, for example. Yeah, alright. Interesting balance changes, all of this is coming right away, but then there's the new content too. The first piece of new content that we're going to get is the Stormwind Siege. This is like a raid light. It's 2-player co-op PvE encounter, requires 90 sigils to enter, and you have to be in the same guild. And there's 3 bosses in Stormwind Siege. There's General Magus Jonathan. Blizzard said the recommended level for this would be between 17 and 18. I'm not sure what Magus Jonathan's actual level is. Then Innkeeper Allison recommended 18 to 19, and High Lord Ball of Dragon recommended 19 to 20. If you are a high-level player, you have like level 30 minutes or even level 25 minutes or something, you will sink down so that you can only be 2 levels above the encounter. So you will always have to work on this. You can't just snooze your way through Stormwind Siege, although obviously being 2 levels above the encounter is still going to give you a significant advantage, but still requires a little bit of attention. So this came out of nowhere. There had been no talk whatsoever about this, but this definitely also helps players get ready for raids. Because there are some sweet rewards at Stormwind Siege, General Magus Jonathan defeating that will give you 200 Valor, and with Valor you can upgrade some of your army slots. I will talk more about that a little bit later, because that's also something that comes from Molten Core. Then Innkeeper Allison is going to give you a Mega Leader Tome, and Ball of Dragon is going to give you a Wildcard slot. You can get these rewards once per player per rotation. And what is a Wildcard slot? Because this is something that has not been talked about before. Wildcard slot is going to replace the top right army bonus slot. So the army bonus slot that you have, first there's 2 faction slots, and then there's that 3rd slot that is somehow going to synergize with the idea of your leader. That's going to be replaced by a wildcard slot, which means that any mini whatsoever is going to be able to activate the trait bonus. So this means that any leader weaknesses can now be overcome, because previously there were always slots that you could not buff with specific leaders. But with wildcard slots you can, and this is going to help in particular with Horde. Horde is typically the faction that is hardest to accomplish goals with, because their army slots suck. But now you can have wildcard slot on your Horde leader, and that means that suddenly all of your Horde leaders can now, they can buff stuff like Abomination, for example. And that's going to be so sweet. Note that you're going to get approximately 1 of these wildcard slots per month for 1 of your leaders, so you need to choose carefully. I don't know exactly how the choice is made yet. If that's like the leader that you complete that wing with, is that the leader that's going to get the wildcard slot? We'll need a little bit more details, but anyway, be careful where you put them, and Horde is going to be one good option. I will take a deeper look into what are the best possible ways to use wildcard slots later, but this is going to be so great news for Horde, I know that already. And after Stormwind Siege we have Molten Core. Molten Core is 2-player co-op PvE raid encounter, 9 sigils to enter, have to be in the same guild, 4 wings, 7 bosses. Wing number 1 starts with Lucifron and then continues with Magmadar, and this time Lucifron is level 23. Yeah, back at BlizzCon they said that raids would start at level 26, but they have adjusted this a little bit. So raids now start at level 23, but each boss is a level higher than the previous one. Previously it was that each wing is a level higher than the previous one. That was the original plan. But now they have spaced it out a little bit so that you can get started with raids easier. And that's awesome news, because level 23, level 24, there are going to be a lot of players who can do those, even if they can't do a level 29. So Wing 1, Lucifer Magmadar, Wing 2, Gar at 25, Gehennas and Shastras at 26. Then we have Wing 3, Baron Geddon at 27, Golmak at 28. Finally we have Wing 4 with Ragnaros at level 29. And when you defeat a boss in Molten Core, your leader is going to be locked to that boss for that cycle. So you will need 7 different leaders for a full clear of Molten Core. Molten Core is a high-level guild activity, so obviously then there's the question, hey, okay, some of my friends are quite low level, can I carry them in Molten Core? And to an extent, yes, you can, because you are able to complete each boss with 3 different people so that your partner gets rewards. You yourself, you're only going to get rewards for the first time you clear the boss during that cycle, but you can still do it 2 more times with other people so that they can get rewards, so you can actually carry a couple of friends through Molten Core. You can also keep playing it after you have already cleared it 3 times, but then even your partner won't get any rewards for that. But that might be useful if you want to work on your strategies or think about something for future weeks. The rewards in Molten Core consists of 100 Valor per boss, so that means 700 Valor overall from clearing Molten Core, and remember you also had access to 200 Valor from the Siege. Then completing Wing 1 is going to give you a boost slot, Wing 2 is going to give you a Mythic Tome, Wing 3 is going to give you a Legendary Core, and Wing 4 Ragnaros, defeating Ragnaros is going to give you a Ragnaros Mini. And you can get all of these rewards once per rotation. So what is a boost slot? Boost slot is going to work exactly like they said that it would work back already at BlizzCon. It's going to enhance the bottom right army bonus slot of the selected leader. Any mini that you place in that boost slot is going to have base XP level of 20 while it is in the boost slot. Like you take it out of the boost slot and put it in somewhere else, then no, it's not going to gain XP from being in that slot, but just while it's in the slot, it's considered to be a level 20 base XP mini. So level 20, and then there's bonus levels from rarity, bonus levels from talents, and bonus levels from the army slot, which can altogether bring it up to 30. So you get around 1 of these per month, and these are especially useful for players whose minis are not that experienced yet, so that you can just get a big boost for any of your minis. Or if you have leveled your minis up, then when you get a new mini and it's not that leveled yet, hey, you can drop it in the boost slot and still make good use of that immediately. I mentioned those bonus levels and I mentioned level 30, but level 30 is not exactly going to be the truth anymore once raids are out. Because what can you buy with all that Valor that you get from raids and from Siege? And what you can buy right now, there's only one thing you can buy with Valor at the moment, and that's diamond slots. And diamond slots cost 200 Valor each, and diamond slot is going to give the mini plus 4 levels. That's 1 more than a gold slot. And yes, that indeed means that you can have a level 31 mini if it's maxed mini, it's legendary, everything is fully maxed, it's in a diamond slot. It goes to level 31, which means that it's going to be level 11 in PvP. Well, this is something that the PvP community is a little bit divided on. Like, is level 11 going to be good or bad for the game? I haven't had much time to play PvP yet, so I don't have a strong opinion on that one. But level 11 for PvP is now coming, as everyone of course expected pretty much. Blizzard first gave us more resources, free-to-play players are getting better minis, now they're adding a little bit more so that you can progress further. You can get 900 Valor per raid cycle, so that means 4.5 slots per raid cycle. So how long is the raid cycle? The raid cycle is going to start with Siege on 29th May, then Raid on 5th of June, and then an off week. Maybe 2 off weeks. The materials that I got from Blizzard in advance were a little bit unclear about that. But the usual cycle that we're going to settle into is going to be Siege, then no Raid or Siege, then Raid, and then another off week. So 4-week cycle, during which you can complete the Siege and you can complete the Raid. Obviously the game is not static, but let's imagine that the game is going to be frozen in this point, that we're going to have this raid cycle, we're going to have these leaders that we know are coming, including Ragnaros and the Cenarion leaders. So that would mean that we would have 18 leaders, so it would take 18 raid cycles to get wildcard and boost slots if you can clear everything, so that would be 72 weeks. And if you want diamond slots for everything, for each army, for each leader, then that would require 108 arm slots at 4.5 slots per cycle. That would be 96 weeks for full diamond slots. But obviously, we don't know how this cycle is going to be adjusted in the future, and there's going to be more leaders in the future. So these are just rough estimates. But they kind of go to show that you want to do some planning on where you put your wildcard and boost slots, what you're going to buff to diamond slot, because you're not going to get full everything wildcard boosted diamond anytime soon. And then the final reward from Molten Core, clearing the last wing, defeating Ragnaros, is going to get you Ragnaros as a Blackrock Leader, a 5 gold mini, 2000 health, tank AoE and elemental traits. Ragnaros is going to attach to the nearest allied tower or base and protect and just swing his hammer around. I mean, just like he does in Heroes of the Storm pretty much. And while Ragnaros is in play, Ragnaros in your deck is going to be replaced with a spell called Blast Wave that burns and knocks back enemies that are near buildings. Ragnaros cannot shoot air, instead he has a big swing AoE ground attack that also taunts nearby enemies. And as leader ability, armored allies deal a small amount of damage back to their attackers. Like all minis, Ragnaros has 3 talents: Son of Flame, at 50% health summon a fire elemental that lasts for 15 seconds, Radiant Flames, buildings you control periodically damage nearby enemies, and Concussive Blast, Blast Wave leaves enemies stunned for 2 seconds. I'm kind of leaning towards the Concussive Blast here, although Fire Elemental is also pretty sweet. Those periodic damage effects, I've had those as relics in dungeons, I have not been too impressed. But we don't have a lot of details about Ragnaros' talents yet, so Ragnaros' talent choice, the recommendation, I'll have to wait and see a little bit more about Ragnaros. And if all of that wasn't enough content, on July 10th with Season 7 we're going to get Moonglade, the new zone, and we're going to get Cenarion as a family that will introduce 2 new Cenarion leaders and 3 new Cenarion troops. And we already have Fairy Dragon in the game, that was added with Season 5, and the Season 6 seasonal mini is also going to be a Cenarion mini. It's going to be Earth and Moon. So we're going to have 2 leaders and 5 troops, if I've understood this correctly. And then Moonglade, new zone, new bosses, new normal and new heroic encounters. So the Season 6 seasonal mini is going to be a Cenarion mini. It's going to be the Earth and Moon spell. It's going to be a hybrid spell. It changes forms when it's played. It has 2 forms. One is Starfall, which is 6 gold elemental damage dealing spell. And then there's Entangling Roots, which is 3 gold area root spell that also poisons enemies. We don't have the full details of Earth and Moon yet, but Earth and Moon, like every other mini, is going to have 3 talents. The talents for Earth and Moon are going to be Moon Fury, Starfall lasts 25% longer, Nature's Grace, Entangling Roots also grants resist to allies for 10 seconds, and Balance can be cast a second time. And it's notable that if you have Balance, then Earth and Moon does not leave your hand after its first cast. Like if you have something like Raptors, you have Arcane Blast, you cast them once, then you decide, okay, I'm going to play something else in between, and then it leaves your hand, and then you can play something else. But with Balance, apparently Earth and Moon is going to stay in your hand, even if you play something else in between, and then you can play it again. Which, on the other hand, can also be detrimental, because that means that it reduces your ability to cycle through your deck. So far, I think I like Moon Fury the best, but we need to see a lot more numbers before we can really make the decision. Anyway, like, yeah, that seasonal mini, that seems kind of a small deal in the grand scheme of things now, because we have so much new content coming, and Warcraft Rumble is finally about to start rumbling. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.